Hi, I'm Micah Clark. Thank you for joining us today. We have a guest in studio that you may remember. I've talked about this before in our weekly emails, but it's been quite a while, so we wanted to have my friend Jim Liston come back on the show and give you see him face to face. I've sent information about him before, and a project that he does every summer for a nativity program in December that is very exciting, very unique, and so I'm glad to have Jim on here with the video. We're going to have some slides that you'll see here and some information down below in the video about the nativity project that he's doing. But Jim, it's great to have you with us today.
I'm so glad to be back. Thank you.
Well, tell us about Project Outdoor Nativity, how it kind of came on your radar, because I think that's an interesting story.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, I run the Catholic Business Exchange, and we've been going for 20 years. And in February of 2021, kind of in the midst of COVID or whatever, we were able to get together in a members-only meeting, and I went around the room and just shared saying, tell me your highlights of the Advent Christmas season, and everybody threw their 2 cents in, and I said, well, I always had the idea of getting an outdoor nativity set for my front yard, and I finally pulled the trigger. We set it up in December, and the response from the neighborhood was so positive. I said, and I just flippantly, Micah said, wouldn't it be great if we could make Central Indiana the outdoor nativity scene capital of the United States? And one of our members jumped up and said, we're in if you do that. So I opened my big fat mouth, and I called the manufacturer up in Michigan and said how impressed I was with the kit that I purchased, and I said, I think there's enough churches and schools down in Central Indiana. If you give us a discount, I think they could use this as a fundraiser and an evangelization program from the get-go. So they cut the price down reasonably to us, and so we could sell them at a discount to the churches, and then they simply went out and promoted it as evangelization first, to put the true spirit of Christmas in front yards, and secondly, to be a fundraiser for a church ministry of their choice. And the first year in 2021, we had 10 organizations, both schools and churches, that took part. And I thought we'd sell a couple of hundred, and we ended up selling 500.
Wow.
And so we knew we were onto something, so we went on to bigger and better things. And ultimately, each year it's grown. And so now we're initiating our 5th outdoor nativity scene project in Indiana. And in total, we've had 4,600 of these kits sold.
Wow.
What's interesting, Micah, is that there's not been one request for a refund. These kits are so well made, and mine has been in my yard now for 6 Indiana winters, and it looks brand new.
Yeah, this is not something you buy for one season and buy every season. These are thick, wooden, nicely painted or coated.
Yep.
I was very impressed with the quality, and they sit tall.
Yeah, it's very appropriate.
We'll show pictures, of course, but I can imagine you were probably surprised when you saw the quality of it.
Really surprised, because you go to different retail stores and you see what they have on the shelf, and flimsy would be an appropriate word. They would blow over in the wind and whatever. These have beautiful cuts in them for the wind, and they stay in the ground nice and neat, and they serve the purpose. And boy, you put a floodlight on them in at night, they really pop against the silhouette of your house.
It's funny because my wife and I were recently in a store we're recording this in the spring, so Easter's a couple weeks away, and we were looking for some traditional Easter decorations. We couldn't find anything but rabbits and eggs and the secular side of Easter. We were not even crosses. And Christmas can be that way too. When you do Christmas decorations, it's all Santa Claus and other things. But these are very different, and everybody who sees them, I think, will know exactly what this is.
Yeah, and we have expanded. I mentioned earlier I run the Catholic Business Exchange, but we are really expanding this year, our 5th year. Our hope is to have more churches and schools than ever. And now we're spreading out not only through Indiana, but last year, as an example, we had 3 churches in Louisville, Kentucky took part. We actually had a church in Denver, Colorado took part. So now we're basically interstate commerce, and we want to spread this throughout the United States. Again, they're made, well built in Michigan, and they'll ship directly to the church or the school. And the beauty of it, Micah, is there's no risk to a church or a school out there, because you basically set up the campaign, you promote it, and if you sell 10, that's what you pay for at the end. If you sell 110, that's what you pay for. And if you sell 0, you're not out anything. So nobody has to, one of the first questions they say is, well, we don't want to get stuck with them.
Right, you're not pre-buying them in a sense, and then have them in the back room for 10 years.
So it's a win-win, and we've had one local church has donated. They said they've been in it from day one, and I think they've donated over $4,000 of all their profit to a local women's care center.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that was, and the beauty of it, Mike, is that a school can take part, and they can use the proceeds to buy religious statues for the school grounds. They can use it to defray costs to go to the Right to Life March in Washington, D.C. A lot of youth ministries like it because the kids can go out and kind of teaches them how to be a good business person early on in life. So the beauty of it is the evangelization. Instead of having Frosty the Snowman in the front yard, you've got the true meaning of Christmas.
Now let me ask you a silly question, but I'm going to do it anyway. How mechanical do you need to be? How hard is it to set up? If somebody's watching thinking, well, I don't know how to do a screwdriver or a hammer, or I can't get out there. Tell us about how simple this is.
Right. For those of you who are challenged like I am mechanically, this is easy peasy. The first year we did it, we put it together in like 10 minutes. It just comes with a set of wing nuts and screws, but everything is already pre-drilled, and all you have to do is just follow the instructions, and voila, you don't have to be an engineer to put them together. And that's the beauty. And the interesting, good you mentioned that, sometimes you have a parishioner or a churchgoer who may be elderly and may have arthritis or whatever, and they're saying, well, I'd love to have one in my yard, but I don't think I can put it together, even as simple as I described it. So what some churches have done through their Boy Scout troop or the youth ministry, they just have offered to say, for Mrs. Smith, who's elderly and has arthritic conditions, we're going to put it together. We're going to drive it to her house and put it in the yard where she wants it.
And it's about waist high, maybe stomach high.
I'm 6 foot tall. If I'm standing there, it's not overwhelming.
Right.
Okay. And I think you got some pictures you'll include in there at some point where you can understand. The box itself is only 12 pounds. It's 2 feet by 3 feet, so a teenage boy or girl could carry it easily into the house. It's not overwhelming. And then even putting it back into the upper level of the garage after Advent is over, it's easy to get down, easy to put together, and we've tried to keep it very simple.
Now, if we have somebody watching who's a pastor or just an individual who's interested in this, what should they do to contact you, or if they have a charity they'd like to maybe look at this as for a fundraiser?
Absolutely. Again, if there's any interest at all from the church staff or one of the parishioners or churchgoers, they can call me at 317-590-5403, or my email is my first initial for Jim, JLISTON, at CatholicBusinessExchange.org.
We'll put all that below in our...
And they've got plenty of time, but I think if they see this in the spring and they're going to say and meet with the pastoral council and say, do we have room for an evangelical / gentle fundraiser for September. We'd love for them to come on board in 2025.
There is a fall deadline where you have to have an order in for the Christmas season.
Right. So we encourage people to do a 3-week program, maybe the middle of September, and ending the second Sunday of October. And why do we do that? Because then you can send me an email and say, hey, we sold 50, we sold 15, whatever the number is. You've collected the money. We turn the money into the manufacturer, and they promise to send the kits directly to the door of the church before Thanksgiving, because we want them to be able to be distributed to enjoy the entirety of the Christmas season.
Great. Now tell me about the other hat you wear, because I've been to your breakfast a couple times for the Catholic Business Exchange. Tell us about that, how that became about. And I'm not Catholic, but I've attended several times and enjoy it. Saw the governor recently.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the first thing I want to make sure your audience knows is that you don't have to be Catholic to come to our meetings. We're really built on the premise of faith, friendship, and business opportunities in that order. Faith is first and foremost. And so we have 155 members. You never have to become a member, but we've got 700 or 800 people on our email list that get notifications of who our speaker is. We meet once a month over at the Northside Events and Social Hall, which is at 71st and Keystone.
Which used to be the Knights of Columbus. That's how I always thought of it. It's 71st Street.
Yeah, it's still the home of our Knights of Columbus, but they renamed it to the Northside Events and Social. And we're blessed. We've been going now, this is our 21st year. We've been steady Eddie with once a month meeting, a breakfast, and our format has never changed, Micah. It's Mass is important. And so you start with a Mass, and then you have networking and a buffet breakfast, and then we have a speaker for 20 or 25 minutes. And then we keep the room open for open networking. And one of the unique things we've done is when we do a name tag, your name tag last week when you went to hear the governor had your name and the church you attend, not your position here with the family association. And so I want people to meet people on a faith basis and not what they do 8 to 5. And it works really, really well for us. And so we've been blessed with a lot of speakers. Last week we were honored to have Governor Mike Braun. And this is the 4th sitting governor that we've been blessed to have as a speaker. And I thought he just did a marvelous job. And I would encourage your viewers to go to www.catholicbusinessexchange.org and they can go and click the slider, and his video is there.
Yeah, and you ask him a bunch of policy questions, his background. It was a very informative. He did very well, and I thought people would, talk about his property tax plan, his idea for business, for other things in the state. I thought it was very good, school choice, things like that.
I was so impressed with his ability as a public speaker, as a public figure, to not only tell us what he wants to do administratively, but also what makes him tick. Okay, his background, his faith background, he and his wife, how they met, where they attend church, what's important to them, and how it affects his decision-making as the state's CEO.
The last speaker I went to, it's been a few months since I've been there, but Ed Simcox, the former Secretary of State, did an incredible job talking about his work with Chuck Colson years ago in prison fellowship, and his history in the Indiana from a faith basis was very good. Yeah,
that's what we strive to do. Is we tend to get people in the public sector versus we have priests, we have theologians on occasion, but I just am a big believer that the men and women who come that are in some kind of a business, either as a employee or the owner of a small company, can learn from people who may have a more prestigious title, may own a company bigger than theirs, but we all kind of put our pants on one leg at a time in the morning, and what makes a person tick. And so we'd love to invite your viewers to, if they ever want to give us a try, just go to website catholicbusinessexchange.org and shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to put them on the email list.
Well, Jim, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you again. Jim Liston with Project Outdoor Nativity Scene. The contact info is there if your church wants to get involved, or a youth group, or Boy Scout group, or want to, or you would like to buy a nativity scene for your yard. This is a very nice set, and it's a good way churches and other groups can raise money if they want to. But we'll have that info below. It's in the email I sent also today. And I appreciate you and thank you for joining us today. I'm Micah Clark with American Family Association. Have a wonderful weekend.